Did you miss my last live? Here's the recap. I'm going to be sharing this to some of the places that you already may have some of my information, whether it be through my actual newsletter or the Discord. But I am going to record all of this, and that should give you an opportunity to go back and catch up on what's going on. Hey, I appreciate the sneaky bones. I've been on Epic around, I would say January the 5th to the 10th. I can't remember the exact date, but I joined Epic around about that time. And during that time, I was looking at all the things that was coming about, and a lot of the videos that I was seeing on TikTok. I was there when I saw all the videos, people moving to Epic and things of that nature. And I said, you know what? Let me go check it out. Let me just go check it out. And I wanted to just verify for myself that there was an actual movement. And when I got to the app, I started to notice a few things. And some of the things that I noticed is what I'm going to share with you today. So welcome in, everybody grab a seat. If you grab a seat in the top bubbles, that's like front row seats to my show. My name is Tim, and I go by Tim's Perspective here on Epic. So you can search ax.tim, and you should be able to find my profile, and then you can go to my profile so you can see all of my content. I have about 37 videos posted at the moment. So, and it's all based on behaviors and patterns that I've seen here on Epic. And so I do want you to know that, this is an entertainment show, and it's based on, one, real data, and then two, it's also based on real streamers. Hey, appreciate that, Pink. And then, so I always share this, is that I study behaviors so you don't have to. So I've done all the work. I've done all the data collecting, and hopefully this is something that you can use in your day-to-day as Epic streamers to not only move to the next level, but also, hey, share this with someone else who also needs it.
Tim.
Go ahead.
Do I have permission to start the show?
Yes, you do.
Initiating.
So I need y'all to wake this room up right now. I need y'all to wake this room up right now. I got a wonderful show to share with y'all. And at the end of the day, what I want to do is inspire you to do great things here on Epic. Because things that you do here on Epic, you have to think about it in data and also lived experiences. And I'm going to show you how to do that. Let's go. Let's go, Speedy. They don't know, Speedy. They don't know.
System corruption detected. To continue this live,
appreciate the bomb, Speedy.
Relics as fast as you can. Feed the algorithm.
And now we can start the show.
You're listening to and watching Tim's Perspective. On your epic journey, remember this. Men lie, women lie, numbers don't.
Let's go. Hey, if y'all can, share out this live. Because I guarantee there's something that I can help with someone's journey here on Epic, and not only just Epic, in your business, because of a lot of the things that I talk about is going to be based on business practices. It's going to be based on concepts that you may have heard, but the way that I break them down is going to be in a way that it's going to be easily digestible for you. So I just want to share that, I do have a goal, and my goal in terms of diamonds tonight, being that this is my first live, is 10K diamonds. And then if we can do about 20K likes, I think that that is a good goal to start a show with. So let's get into it. So tonight I'm going to be breaking down, who's benefiting off of Epic and why you're not. I also reveal my top 5 streamers to watch. And we're going to do that a few ways. I have an Epic snapshot that I'm going to go through. And this is basically who's owning and controlling the market here on Epic. I also will go over the Epic forecast. And this is basically my way of simple predictions to help you get the most out of Epic. And then this is my favorite part right here, Epic streamers. So I'm going to be talking about, streamers that you should not only, follow and go support them, but I want you to go out and actually study their patterns and their behaviors, because there's obviously something that they're doing that can be used in other ways that you may need to use them. So that's definitely something that we all have to think about when it comes to this Epic journey, because at the end of the day, there's a few ways that you can actually be great on Epic. You can actually just maybe join communities, and these communities go out and help you with your live. But at the end of the day, if you have no creativity and you have no data, how can you do that? So let me go over this Epic snapshot. And so basically this Epic snapshot, it tells me, where the money is flowing and also who's controlling the room. And this week, I can tell you this, over the last 5 days, it's been really crazy. So the total diamond count has been more than 65 million in diamonds. And so when you do the estimated gross on that, that's about 521,000 or more estimated gross income that has been paid out. Now, the estimated payout after the split is about 416,000. Where do you go with that type of information? Here's the portion of the data that you have to understand when it comes to your journey here on Epic. Always look at the top 9 share. And this helps you understand who's owning the market. If you know this, then you know that you don't have to really have to beat them. You have to outlast who's in the market and at the top. So we know, and I know for a fact, the top 9 share is about 34%. And let's break this down for you. So I want you to understand how these numbers work. First and foremost, it's all about how much money is actually showing up in this Epic market. And I don't know about you, but I want to be in a space where money is flowing and the app is growing. And I can tell you, since I've been collecting all of this data since January, this app is definitely growing and this app is definitely flowing for sure. But we have to understand who's not only controlling the numbers, but we need to understand how the share in the numbers break down. So this is how I look at it, and why a lot of people are struggling when they start to rank. But also you need to understand too that it starts at the EOP. This conversation is not about that. You should have already taken all of the necessary steps to join communities. There's a lot of great teachers here out in Epic World that teach how to get your community started, how to join communities, and how to do all the basic things and the foundational things. So if you see here, rank 1 through 9 share is 34%. Remember that number. Then you see that rank 10 through 25 is 22%. And then rank 26 through 50 is 21%. And if you notice, so look at the estimated payouts. Now, these are estimated payouts for those 3 rows. But I want you to look at that last row. Ranks 51 through 100 is a 24 share of the total market in diamonds and also payout. You probably think to yourself, well, why does that matter? I'm going to tell you exactly how to think about this. What this data is showing you is probably some of the things that you're probably hearing already on the app. One, ranking in the top 100, if you can jump in between 50 and 100, 9 times out of 10, you're going to actually be able to rank faster than you thought you can rank, because all you need to do is just jump in between ranks 51 and through 100. Here's the perspective. Everyone thinks that the gap of struggle is at the top, and it's not. It's not at the top. The real fight is in the middle. If you see there, ranks 10 through 25 and 26 through 50 have a 22% and 21% share in the market. That tells you a lot. It means that almost the same ranking is happening in that position, because nobody can break away. Once you get there, you're stuck there. So if you have been able to do all the foundational things like get people in your live and things of that nature, then you start to rank and you get stuck in that position where you're not alone. Because guess what? I see this time and time again every single day. I look at this data. And yeah, shout out to who just sent me that. Appreciate the rock and roll. You know, every time I see this data, I'm thinking to myself, they don't even know that they're not alone. You're getting stuck in that 10 to 25, 26 to 50 ranking for a reason. So this is what most of you have already discovered, but I'm able to prove that with the data. And it's actually easier to move in the middle, but it's just harder to separate. So a lot of people need to just realize they're going to have to take some small steps to engage their community a lot better than they are, because it's not necessarily all the time that you need new people in your room. You just need to re-engage the ones that you have. So let's talk about the top earners. So, of course, there is Dave Carey. And what's interesting about looking at all of this data, too, is that I don't necessarily know or go into these rooms. These people don't necessarily even know who I am, but I know who they are. And I know who they are because I've seen them on this data every single day almost since January when I started. And so when I look at some of the people who have the biggest share in this market and who also they don't necessarily have it on lock, but they stay in that top 9%. They have patterns and behaviors that you can do yourself. That's why when people in industries such as, psychology, physics, quantum physics, you have different sources of data, but they are based on 2 different factors. Lived experience. Hold on, let's wake this room up really quick. Hey, put a fire emoji in the chat if this is valuable information right now, because I think at the end of the day, we could do a lot more in this room. What's up, sir? What's up, Travel? What's up, Travel?
Now tap the screen as fast as you can.
Hey, tap the screen as fast as you can. Tap the screen as fast as you can. I got some more information to share with you. What I'm about to share with you right now, I'm telling you, no one else is talking about, because I'm doing the work. I'm actually doing the work.
System corruption.
Hey, appreciate
detected.
that. Appreciate that bomb. Appreciate that bomb.
Continue this live. You must throw relics as fast as you can. Feed the algorithm.
You can throw relics. You can throw icons. You do what you got to do to put this show at the top of the ELP. And now we can continue the show.
watching Tim's Perspective.
Appreciate y'all being here.
On your epic journey, remember this. Men lie, women lie, numbers don't.
They sure don't. They sure don't. Hey, welcome to the show. Welcome to the show. Appreciate that bomb. This is Tim's Perspective. It's just my perspective.
Enjoy the show. The Epic Forecast.
All right. So let's talk about the epic forecast. And it's crazy how time works because, you know, I was really getting into a lot of detail in the last segment, and I really actually left out a lot of stuff. I mean, that's why I want to do more of these shows so that you can really see where all of this data is coming from. But basically, this forecast is a simple prediction based on the most recent 14 days. Who was that? Megan. Hey, I appreciate you. I appreciate you. I appreciate the love. Right now, there's a lot of people requesting me, and I'm going to have to reject this. I got to figure out how to turn that off. So right now, I want to tell y'all that this is a hot week right now, a very hot week. And just like I explained in the Epic Snapshot, there's over 65 million diamonds that has been thrown out this week. That's a lot of diamonds. And so that's up 10% versus last week. And why you need to know this? You need to know this because you are in a space where things are happening. I mean, where else would you want to be? I don't understand where else you would need to be. And this is the reason why I put together all of this, because I said to myself, before I get involved with this app, I want to know what this app is actually doing. Because at the end of the day, what a hot market means, it means that there's a lot of people putting pressure to go live, and there's a lot of people who are working the rooms, and there's a lot of people there that are here to actually stay. When it comes to ideas, you have to remember that creativity is cognitive, not just artistic. So I'll go into, a lot more of that after this. But I just wanted to just share with you that we have to start looking at each other and holding each other accountable, not verbally, but literally showing and proving what you can do. That's the reason why I put this show together the way I did, because I can show you better than I can tell you of what to do here on Epic. Now, you don't necessarily have to go to the length that I've gone on this show, but what I'm saying is that you have to challenge yourself to entertain. And that's the missing piece here on Epic. We need entertainment in these spaces. And a lot of you are talented. I see your talent, and I know that you are intellectual, and I know that you have the opportunity with the people that come in your spaces to take it up even another notch. And I'm going to challenge you to do that. That's what I'm here to do in this space.
Epic streamers.
Hey, I appreciate that bomb. So that's a great question, Speedy. Speedy says, but I thought we are not supposed to ask for gifts, etc. So, Speedy, there's multiple ways that we can get people to gift us, but also how we ask for gifts. First and foremost, to answer your question very directly, you have to realize what your purpose is. So you should be asking for gifts when you have a purpose to your life. If your purpose is, for an example, I said I want to reach 10K diamonds, 20K likes, you have to ask for gifts in order to do that. So when you're live, your value is you being live, and the value by virtue of that is the gift. So when you are here in this space right now, you're here and you're gifting me because you see the value in what I'm offering you. It's no different than a show. So if you're at a show, you pay for a ticket and the experience in that show. I'm creating experiences for you here on Epic. And just by virtue of that, gifting me is fine. That's a great question, though. And I think it's an etiquette to asking for gifts. But at the end of the day, this is an experience. And if you have anything to do with physical storefronts or where you create experiences for people, you know that the experience economy is a $1 trillion economy. People pay for experiences. So when you're in spaces that's giving you experiences, gifting is definitely part of it, for sure. Anybody else have questions? So I hope everybody is tracking. Let's pull up the Epic streamers. I love this part right here because I'm really all about the streamers. I really am. The streamers rule this app. The streamers make this app. I want the streamers to be the focal point of not only this show. I want to celebrate streamers, but also I want to challenge the streamers, because the streamers on here is what is going to take Epic to the next level. So Megan, this is great to see right here. This is real-time information right here. So Megan, right now, your signal is bearish, meaning you are doing well, and the algorithm is, I can see in the algorithm you're there and you're showing, but your pace is slowing down. So I don't know if that's because you have not gone live in the days that you were going live, but let's look at your diamond chart to see what's happening. And if you notice here, just indicated by the yellow line here, Megan was at 222,000 diamonds on 4/7. And I love to see these curves because it tells a story that we need to understand how to build when we go back live. So, and it could be so many different types of nuances to the story. So I don't know all the answers to why the number went to 149, but I do know this. There's ways that we can fill out in the gap to understand how to get that number back up, if that makes sense, Megan. So then she went to 176K diamonds, and she's been pretty steady over the last 3 or 4 days, which is great. One thing's for sure. So I go into Megan's live, and she's really great at owning her room and owning her space. And each time that I've gone in there, I just always take note of how the people that come into the room, she genuinely knows them. I've never seen a time, and you could be, maybe you're really good at just calling out names and making it believable, but I believe that you literally are genuine with these people. And I think that that's the value that you bring in your space. And that's why I joined your space a couple of times, because I was like, yeah, she seems very genuine. And then on top of that, the information that she brings is the lived experience. The lived experience is what I talked about. She's actually an Epic Pro. I don't want to mess that up, Megan. Are you an Epic Pro, or are you what's the other one? What are you? Put that in the chat for me. Yeah, you're an Epic Pro. So she is moving along in her Epic journey as an Epic Pro. That's the lived experience. And now her being in this room with someone who understands data, she's getting the data of that story. So this could do one or two things. This can increase her journey, or she just becomes stagnant and she keeps doing the same thing. I just want to make sure that folks that is over here know who I'm speaking to. Mish, she owns a forward-thinking digital agency with expertise in driving sustained growth and progress to clients in the digital space, especially here for creators and brands on Epic. So she's going to be able to bring a lot of information to you if you need help with your business, or you need help with just understanding, how to, reach and overcome some of the challenges that you're having here on Epic.
So I always tell people I have a three-part strategies. Before you tap that live button, build community, market and advertise, and learn the platform. But when we talk about building community, I recommend, because again, this is not a strategy that I just started today. It's also the strategy that I implemented on TT and had success. Choose 3 home rooms. And I always say this in my lives. If you're everywhere on these platforms, you're literally nowhere. Meaning if you're bouncing from room to room to room, you're not spending enough time in any space for anyone to get to know you. So from a strategic standpoint, I recommend that new creators, existing creators, if they're struggling where they don't have any support, the first thing that they want to do is just choose 3 home rooms to start. These are the rooms that you're gonna build your communities out of them. So if you're taking the time to spend time in these 3 spaces, it tells me that you're spending more time there. So people are getting to know you. And when you're in there, even your marketing budget will stretch further. Even if it's $10, let's say your budget is $10 for the day, for the week, or the month. If you're only spending that 10 in 3 places versus 30, it's going to serve you much better. So that's what I tell people, to start in 3 rooms. And people always say, well, when will I know to go live? And I say this: when you're in those 3 home rooms and the people you've been building with, the live host you've been in those rooms with starts badgering you like, have you gone live yet? Did you go live? When did you go live? When is your live time? That is when you know you've built community, because it's at that point that people are waiting for you. They're excited. They want to come and see what you do. And that's when you know you have community. So that's what I tell people to do when they're starting off. It's just to do something smaller, more strategic. In terms of joining like the big, larger community, it can get complex. I tell people this, Tim. There's 2 types of relationships in the business here on Epic. You got your B2B and your B2C. 99% of our relationships are going to be B2C, business to customer. You're the live host, you're the business. Anyone flows in your room is your customer. Now, B2B is business to business. Now, you have your business partnerships where, just what you were saying, maybe you have people that you have a business rapport with, where you've had conversations to say, hey, I really need support at the top of my lives. Do you have availability? They say yes. But even in that, there needs to be strategy. I would not recommend that you have more than 4 people that you're doing B2B with, because that's a lot to support. And it's not, it's very hard to have longevity in that. If you're telling 30 people you're going to come and check them every day to help them, that's impossible. I say start with 4 solid people. I call it the 444. The 4 is friends, like that gift that says you can count on me, like 1, 2, 3, I'll be there. And you have that business to business relationship where they know, hey, I'm going to be a supportive Mish. My mom is a B2B for me. At the top of every one of my lives, my mother is here, and she supports this room to help me to get visibility on the ELP, because if I'm not getting that visibility, I can't grow my business here on this platform. Visibility is currency. And the more visible you are, the more opportunity you have to get new customers. And my room, I'm not an entertainment room, Tim. My room is transitional. You come, you learn, you get knowledge, and you go off to have your own epic journey in live hosting or content. And then my hope is every now and then you come back and visit your teacher. But for my business to grow, I need new customers. So it's important to be up high on that ELP on a day to day. And in order for me to do that, I need people. I need people that are going to come in, gift, tap, comment, do whatever it is that they can to help me get that visibility. So my goal, even for myself, is to get about 4 solid people that can help me and want to support me, and I support their business as well. So that's what I recommend.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned the separation between your room versus others too, because that's important. You need to understand what you are in the space to do, and I covered that at the top of my show, because I want to make it known that this is an entertainment show. What I do, and this is based on real data and real streamers. So I study behaviors and patterns here on Epic so that you don't have to. But at the same time, this is also entertainment because I'm of the format that I'm putting it in. Because at the end of the day, we have enough teachers on Epic for people to go to and understand how Epic works. I don't want to be in that space because it's a crowded space.
Right.
My position on here is very, very much different than everyone else's. One other thing is that, at the end of the day, we could be in the same space and create opportunities that's different from each other, and
Yes.
that's how this came
Yes.
together. You see, that's how
Yep.
this came
Yep.
together, because people will think, well, don't you do the same thing as Mish? No. Here's the difference if you don't understand. Mish teaches you how to, I teach you how come. That's two different mindsets.
Mhm.
So when we talk about data and we talk about data storytelling, we're talking about, what was the result of these things that we have been hearing by virtue of some of the streamers talking in the streets and things of that nature. I can tell you what is happening in the data, and I don't need to be in your room. So Mish is able to break down the actual strategy of how that actually should be played out in your business. So, which is good. That's good for sure. So
And
what type?
I didn't
Oh
start
yeah,
off
go ahead. Go
that
ahead.
way, Tim. And I didn't start off that way. And this is what I tell people, that your business has to be agile. You have to understand that at some point there may be need to pivot. Because when I got on here, I was one of 2 educators that were teaching Epic, right? And then 3 weeks in, the end of January, more people started joining, and then there became more educators. Some of them were great, and some of them weren't so great. But what did I know? I needed to pivot. I wasn't going to teach the basic, like you touch this button and touch that button. This is
Yeah.
how. I knew that I had business acumen. So I said, okay, what do I see people struggling with? And that's when I understood, like, they're not moving like a business. And in February, I changed my strategy and the structure of my lesson to the business of Epic. So I tell people all the time that even as you evaluate your business, your live structure, sometimes it may require you to pivot or to do something different to make sure that you're setting yourself apart from the rest. And that's why I appreciate your content, because it is so refreshing. And I know Brandon's sick and tired of us all educators on here. He wants to see something different. So I appreciate you, Tim, a lot.
Yeah. I actually talked about that earlier. Sometimes you have to break the script, and you may love your idea. You may love it,
Mhm.
but sometimes you have to break the script because it comes to a point where you have to know who you're trying to serve. Are you serving yourself, or are you trying to really serve people? And you have to find
Right.
a reasonable, balance between the two, especially when I think about, television and film and things of that nature, a lot of people may not know that in television, film, and also marketing worlds, executives, they all take on the position that, people subscribe to experiences, they subscribe to content, and they subscribe to personalities. So when
Yes.
you actually go to the movie theater, you are subscribing to that storyline, and you buying that ticket because you subscribe to the storyline. Same thing for Netflix. Like literally they use the word subscribe to this entire library of content that we have, and we will be able to serve you the entertainment that you need. Here's the perspective. Live is even better because you create an interactive experience. And so that's why I want to challenge people on here to get more creative. Even if you have difficulty in creating things, you need to functionally do these things every single day, because a lot of people that are not creative don't, well, I will say this, a lot of people that don't think they're creative are actually creative. You just don't really understand the actual definition of what creativity is. That's why I always ask people, how do you get creative? I asked someone earlier about that because I want to understand your mindset so that you know that you're actually more creative than you actually think. You just have to learn how to work that muscle. And that's what I'm also going to bring to the table here as well, because I do realize, and over, my years in, talking about creativity and cognitive processing and things of that nature, a lot of people, they connect creativity with artistic things, and it's really not, that's just scratching the surface, really.
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you, love.
Yeah. So what's something that small creators are overlooking?
Ooh, I think one of the things that small creators is overlooking is the power of repetition. When it comes to advertising and marketing, I say this quote all the time. It's my own quote: repetition builds brand recognition. And the reason why I talk about repetition is because in cable television and in entertainment, I use the example of when they create a commercial, they show it over and over again. And to make it simpler for creators to understand, how do they build camaraderie or community? It's repetition. Are you showing up in places consistently? Are people seeing you over and over again? And I always use examples like how the room is set up for your live stream, the visual of the 4 top gifters at the top and the gifts coming in at that eye level. It is to play on that psyche. The more you see it, the more you hear it over and over again, the more you see someone. So even when you have your live, repetition is gonna play. It's the people that you see over and over again that you build camaraderie with. I know when I'm scrolling on my ELP daily, it is always the people whose names and pictures I remember, that I'm like, oh, let me go in there and see what's going on with them. So I think repetition, understanding the power of repetition in making your brand name, your picture, just being visible, how it can help you in your ability to build a strong foundation of a community. You can go and join a large community if you want to, and there's nothing wrong with that. But know that you can get lost in that sea if there's no repetition, if no one's seeing you. So repetition is something that I see people miss all the time, the importance of that.
Yeah. So the community thing is, I think that's a whole nother chapter and conversation by itself, because you have to be somebody who understands how to engage in communities too. Like me, myself, like I'm not really, so this is why I struggled when I created, my outside platform, with, Discord and things like that. First and foremost, I really don't like Discord. And then secondly, yeah. And then secondly, I really don't want to, I don't want to misrepresent community. What I just want to do is, if this is a space for you to market or ask questions, use it for that. Because communities can for me get really gangish. And I've never been really a part of gangs and want to be a part of gangs, right? So yeah. So I operate in real time, even in real life. I'm a loner. So my thought process is, when it comes to, speaking up about things, typically I am the one who, I'm going to say the thing that most people are not going to say, but I'm just not going to say it like you. I'm going to walk it down. So it's for communities, I think that they're great, but I think you should do your due diligence and have discernment in some of the communities that you join, and that plays a lot into your experience on an app too, because you can't hate the app if you join a bad community, and that's what happens sometimes.
Facts.
you know,
Yeah, I
yeah,
agree. I agree. People ask me all the time, "What community are you in?" I'm like, all of them. Like,
yeah,
I'm not.
yeah. Me
I'm not
too.
in. I'm a part of Epic. I'm a part of
Yeah,
all of them. I go where I find value and I feel that I'm being poured into. That's just where I go. I don't care if it's this pack, that pack, or any pack. I'm just a part. But I too, and others have asked me, "What's the name of my community?" I'm like, I ain't got no name. It's just we just here.
yeah.
I just, it's not my thing. I don't bash anyone that is their thing and they join a community or they create communities. I think it's great. But to your point, you got to have a spirit of discernment to understand what you're joining into. And again, if you don't know how to engage properly in community settings, it can be challenging for you. And I love that you say your experience with your community is not the experience with the app. It's just that you might have chosen the wrong community. And I feel like that's happened to a lot of people and a lot of good people that I've seen exit the app because of their experience with the community, but they put the blame at the feet of Epic, and it's unfair.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, the app is just what it's doing what it's supposed to do. It's providing you opportunity, and I think
Correct.
when these conversations come up, these are the type of things that you use as a meter for your discernment. It's not to say don't do it or do it. It's just to say, hey, have you thought about this? It's almost like,
Right.
going to a council, right? And then you hearing what that council has to say on a particular event in the community. And then you have to maybe vote if you actually want to move forward with that particular thing that they're talking about. That's what this platform that I'm building is all about, is asking
Yeah.
questions that people know that they should be asking for themselves, but because they are looking for ROI so fast
Mm-hmm.
that they're not willing to ask the right questions before jumping into
Questions.
things. And
Yeah.
I actually went over my perspective on leveraging ROI versus asking for COI. COI is cost of inaction, right? If you didn't do anything today, how much would it cost you in the future? And that's the
Mhm.
question you should be asking yourself versus ROI if you just started anything and that you have no leverage in. I have no leverage right here, right now on Epic myself, right? The only
Mhm.
leverage that I
Mhm.
have is by virtue of my 37 videos that I have, which equivalent, I think it's an equivalent of 45 minutes of content, right? That's the leverage
Mhm.
that I have. But when we come to the ROI conversation, I don't have enough leverage to ask for a return on the investment because I have to execute what I'm doing right now. And I think that that
Mhm.
people that are having this conversation, they want the ROI, but they haven't done the actual execution part. So, yeah,
Absolutely, absolutely, and that is spot on, and just um, I think we touched on this a little bit. Like, what is your why? When you're on these platforms, really knowing what your why is. And I tell people, if it's only about that return on investment, that money comes and goes. You'll be disappointed if your why is just the money on these apps. It's gonna harm you in the end because every day is not gonna look the same. Every month is not gonna look the same. When I got on this platform, I boy, I was crushing it, and I I would share this. I wanted to become an Epic Pro for selfish reasons because I wanted to make a record. I wanted to be the second woman to ever make Epic Pro on this platform. And I tell my story all the time and share it with my chat. Like, I didn't think about after, like what I needed to do to maintain that after. I just was like, I'm going to get this record. Yay. And when I got to
yeah,
February, I was like, wait a minute. I got to keep this up. to keep this now, right? And February was just an overall tough month. It was a short month for me. I was sick in February, but I was doing hours to maintain what I got. And then March, I try to maintain it as well. And I fell short, but even in my falling short, there was so much learning in it. And for me, I was like, I'm better off as a live pro. I don't need that pressure in my life for Epic Pro. And I mean, the truth is, even for March, I made 4.5 million diamonds. Like, that's
Yeah.
no small change. You know what I mean? And I recognize even in, changes in the system itself from an algorithmic perspective, it changed for Epic Pros. The push is a little bit harder. So I was like, I would prefer to be a live pro. So when I dropped, I was grateful. And people were like, but you should stay. No, I'm good. So I tell you this to say, as you think about your why, also understanding what goes with that. When you are setting yourself for these different goals, what you're going to have to put in to maintain those things and get that investment return. So everyone that's listening on this conversation, always have a clear identity of what your why is before you move forward. And if it's just the money, I can tell you, you're going to be disappointed every time, if that is
Every
your
time.
why.
Yeah, because I am willing to call it quits at a drop of a dime. I'm gonna be honest with you. I will do it because it's about the money, but it's not. It's literally, if I'm passionate about it, I will put my all into it. And I'm going to show
Mm,
you. My thing is always I'd rather show you rather than tell you. That's the
mm,
way I build everything. So,
mhm,
when someone first join my live and they may like, wow, I've never seen this on Epic before. And you probably won't, because it takes time to build all of this through. And it takes time to think it out. So the day that I may decide never to do it again is because I don't want to do it. I don't have a passion for it anymore. It's just like filmmaking. If I wanted to make a film, it may take me another 5 years to make another film, because you have to be passionate enough to do it, right? So,
mhm.
I think that the money is, it is a defining factor. I don't do things without the money. I think that is part of the growth, but also the
Right.
passion has to be around it. Because people
Mhm.
will come in your space and they'll know that you really ain't giving this your all. They,
Yep, yep. And just diving into that too, I see people that come and they want to return on the investment, but they're not prepared. They're not ready. And I always say people want doomsday in their room, but some people aren't ready for their doomsday moment. Because here's the truth: if someone was to come in your room and drop a doomsday, it's going to catapult you to the top of the ELP. And
yeah.
if you have no substance, you've not put in the time to develop your live structure, to have a place where people feel entertained, they want to stick around. What was the purpose of that? Because you're going to fall back to the bottom of that ELP where there's less visibility, and you've just wasted that quick moment of visibility that you got. So we got
Hmm.
to be mindful that this takes work. Being a live host is not you just get up and for some people it happens like that, but that's not the rule. That's the exception to the rule, right? You got to
Yeah.
put in some work,
Yeah.
on
Absolutely.
developing your show and really entertaining. And I like to tell people till my chat laughs, but I always tell them they got to be good hookers out here on these epic streets. You got to be able to hook your audience attention. You got to grab them. So
Yeah.
y'all better be on these corners hooking, because Madam Mish is looking. You got to grab people's attention, and it takes work. It takes development. It doesn't always come at the start of your live career. It takes development, and that can also hinder your ability to make a return on that investment.
Absolutely. Yeah, shout out to you, Speedy Grandma. Yeah, I appreciate you joining the live. I will see you next time for sure. Yeah, for sure. I think that it's a lot easier to just go with the passion than it is to go with uh, the stress of wanting to make the money. It's a lot easier to go with the passion, because then it's not over your head and you can just always get out. And for me,
Yeah.
I always want to out. I always want to out. I
Mm-hmm.
never want something over my head in this life that it just, I have to do something either, that's out of my personality, or something that is going to keep me enchained until I pay up that debt, right? Now, there's credit
Mm-hmm.
cards, but then there's your actual things that you look at, and you have to look in the mirror every day and actually, think about, why did you make that decision? Credit cards a little bit different. If you on back pay on credit cards, you're not looking in the mirror every day like, man, I ain't make them credit card payments. No, you're not like that. You're
Right.
not like that. So I think that at the end of the day, that's real conversation that people got to have, for sure, for sure. But we have gone over your 30 minutes, and that this conversation was good. This conversation was good,
It was.
for sure.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So
And I
I
mean, I'm
appreciate your
here.
time, though.
If you wanted to still continue, I'm here. I'm still open.
Yeah.
I still have any time available. It is up to you, but I
No, we can
appreciate you.
continue. We can actually continue. I just
Yeah,
I am a person, I like to respect people's time, especially
me too.
when I told you that was going to be 30 minutes, I mean 30 minutes. Like, when I do show programming, that's exactly, I'm to the point, Yeah,
Yep.
to the point, for sure. I actually, let me see. I wanted to see if I could pull up. It would have been nice to see your numbers, but I'm not seeing you here. Let me
My
see.
numbers is tanking right
Yeah,
now. I'm
yeah.
in
I
the
saw
review.
I saw something that I was going to bring to your attention. I was like, it would be interesting to get her perspective on what's happening in her room, because the data, it's it's been a little shifty for you, and I know that you typically hang around that 20 to 50-ish range, and
Yep.
that's
Yep.
something that I brought up earlier, is that what I'm seeing in the data is that people are able to get into that middle portion of the rankings, but it's hard for people to spread out and move, and that's not something that is just is by coincidence. When I
Mm-hmm.
look at the data, the bottom 50 to 100 ranking, they own about 24% of the market share, right? And so that
Mm-hmm.
tells you that it's easier to get in the rankings. Like, oh, I'm here. Once you got the
Yep. Yep.
ELP
Yep.
thing, the game down, you got people coming into
Yep.
your room, you're there. So the 24% represents you can get there easier than you thought you can get there. But the 21 and 23% is the issue, and that's usually in the middle, and people in the
Yep.
middle are usually focused around that 20 to 50, and they keep dropping and falling, and it's typically not because you need more people. It's just that you need to re-engage and activate the people that you have, and we need to figure out
Yeah.
how to do that while we're here on Epic. So the data is showcasing a lot of things that you probably already see by your lived experience, but it's good to have
Mhm.
the data to now acknowledge that, right?
Right. Right. So I think for me, let me think, the last 3 weeks. So this is April. I would say about March, the end of March, for me, and my team, my I and my community, we started looking back at the algorithm, because around the time where they started to switch the algorithm a little bit to help the smaller creators to get more visibility, my algorithm was totally changed up. I would have days where my normal bump from the algorithm will be in the 60s. And then what we did in my room, because my room is a medium to large gifting room. We're not epic gifters in my space. It means that, there's some rooms that they're getting doomsday, 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 doomsday. That is not how my space is built. And I know that about my space, but they're solid.
Hmm.
Those same giftings the last 3 weeks couldn't move us out of the hundreds.
Yeah.
It took a lot to get up in the gold. And it was like I would have someone come in and run a truck through this thing, run a motorcycle, and it'll be like, boom, one. So we
Hmm.
had a lot of that going on for about 2 weeks. And then last week, Wednesday, was when I went back down to Live Pro. And it's been a little bit better, but even it's still a little bit more challenging than it had been in the past to get a higher on the ELP with the types of gift that you receive. So I started going around and just studying other rooms for different streamer levels and just notice I think it's in the efforts to help the smaller creators to get some more visibility higher up on the ELP. It's impacted my ability to get up there. And my room is transitional, meaning that I'm not going to have people that will stick in my room and stick around for 8, 9 months, all because I'm not in entertainment. I'm literally giving you the knowledge to go out into your own journey and be great and create your own community. So for my longevity, for my continuous growth, I gotta chase the ELP to get to that goal because that's the
Hmm.
only way I'm gonna get new traffic, new customers into my space because my customers are not they don't stick around for eons. And that's fine because I know what I do and I know what I offer, and what I offer goes beyond just teaching inside of Epic. Eventually, I will pivot to how I pivoted on TikTok and make it more so about what I really have been put forth to do, which is to help people make multiple streams of income digitally. Right now, I'm just focused on Epic. So I know my transition, but I also know that I'm going to be also in a restructuring. I'm doing things on TT still, and I'm trying to balance that. So I think in May, I'm going to be making a change because I feel like my morning is much better than my night. And usually when I'm jumping off to go do other things, that's when my room picks up. So just even looking at my data, I need to possibly move my live time to later part in the morning to make it
Hmm.
work for my community that is there. So it's just adjusting, and I'm gonna adjust in May, and then I know summer is gonna be greater. So yeah,
Yeah,
that's where
yeah.
I am.
Yeah, I like the way you're walking that down because that's what you got to do. Yeah,
Hmm.
if the numbers, I mean, the numbers can tell a lot, but also the behaviors of your actual people that come in there. You know them
Yep.
probably by now. Yeah, yeah, and I'm able to, I'm able to calculate at this point a best day to stream. But for somebody like you, that really isn't helpful. That's helpful to someone who's new to the app that want to
Right.
understand like what's the best day with somebody in the room to actually be able to get and gain traction in terms of ranking because you don't want to stream and you don't want to try. Well, you don't want to try to push for ranking on the day that the top 9% is literally that's where they're pushing for ranking. That just doesn't make sense.
Yep.
So
And I saw your video, and it's true for me. Wednesday is always fantastic. Sunday
really,
too, but I don't on Sundays anymore. It
yeah, yeah,
is.
yeah, and see that's
It's
what I
work,
want.
and
See,
my
this is
numbers on
this
Wednesdays are usually great.
That's awesome. So this is a fascinating conversation for me because that's also why I wanted to go live too, because I wanted streamers to feel comfortable in coming into the room and saying, "Hey, Tim, I looked at a video and that is the ideal, like you're saying, that is the ideal time for me. Or, hey, Tim, the number was a bit off for me, but it was kind of close. So I understand what you're saying. Because with data, there is an error of margin that's in data, right?
Yeah.
So there's an error. A lot of people don't even know this, that is an error of margin in the stock market, right? So they have to do
Yeah.
corrections. So it's the same thing. So it's sometimes, I would say that the data at this point, because I've been doing data collecting since January the 20th is when I started. I started on the
Mhm.
app January the 5th or the 10th. It was one of those days. And then that's when I got the idea. I was like, you know what, before I actually put my skill set to use on here, I want to know if it's even worth it. And when I start seeing the numbers, I was like, oh no. You see, that's the thing. Like people have to start looking at the numbers, because the numbers will tell you where you should be. And when I start seeing the numbers as a whole, I mean, like this week is really hot. You know, we are in a week where we're doing 67 million in diamonds. That's like 500,000 of more in estimated payouts. So when you start to really break down the numbers, and, you know, people are being fed on this app. You know, that's an app that I would want to be on.
I agree. And, you know, there was a lot of panic that came in the last month in terms of like seeing the numbers kind of look low. But when I looked at the number, and what I saw, the difference was from some of the data that you've had in the past, where the flow of the money was throughout.